We got in. We got in on the conversation with Elon Musk and Donald Trump the other day, and it was really cool to see our icon next to the Donald Trump icon and the Elon Musk icon for Azimuth podcast. So we thought that was really cool. Obviously, we were going to live stream it, but we chose not to, and I'm glad we did.
Yeah, 40 minutes of delay. I mean, you guys are busy, so we're glad we didn't do that.
Exactly. So anyway, it's going to start, and Elon Musk is going to give an explanation of why it started late and why it's so important to have a conversation. And we can't wait to share this with you.
All right, hello everyone. My apologies for the late start. We unfortunately had a massive distributed denial of service attack against our servers, and saturated all of our data lines, like basically hundreds of gigabits of
because people were trying to shut down free speech.
We think we've overcome most of that, and so it's now time to proceed. But as this massive attack illustrates, there's a lot of opposition to people just hearing what President Trump has to say. And but I'm honored to have this conversation. I want to emphasize it's a conversation. And it's really intended to just get a feel for what Donald Trump is just like in a conversation. It's hard to catch a vibe about someone if you just don't hear them talk in a normal way. And when there's an adversarial interview, it's like no one's themselves in an adversarial interview. And this is really aimed at kind of open-minded, independent voters who just trying to make up their mind. So you can understand like what is what is it just like to have a conversation? So honored to Donald, great to speak. We had a great conversation yesterday. As you mentioned yesterday, if we could just record that conversation and post it would have been excellent. And I hope we can have something like that today.
Well, I think we will. I'm pretty sure we will. And congratulations, because I see you broke every record in the book.
Yeah, so we're gonna pause this. The conversation was more than 2 hours long, not including the 40-minute wait with the music and things like that. But still, we got some what we felt was important takeaways, and there was some humor. There was, definitely, it was a relaxed atmosphere because just like Elon said, most of the time in a sit-down interview, it's adversarial. If you've seen any of the J.D. Vance news interviews that he has been giving with ABC, NBC, places like that, it has been very adversarial. But the thing is Senator Vance is powering through it. He's doing a good job. He's getting his message out there, and but still, this is designed not to be that way.
Yeah, I think it's one of many ways in which you could more humanize Trump a little bit.
Sure.
So hopefully the independent voters that Elon Musk is addressing that he mentioned, we'll see it that way.
Yeah, and throughout this, he wants to have Kamala on as well. Elon does.
Yes.
And so, she hasn't. I think we're at 20. Is it 23 or 24 days?
Yesterday was 24.
Okay, so today is
25.
25.
Yes.
And we're August 14th right now, 2024. And so 25 days that she has just done her basement strategy. Now, she learned from the best.
Basement Joe.
Yeah,
but, there was the guise of, it's COVID, it's not safe for him to come out, blah, blah, blah. Okay,
right.
Well, you don't have that anymore. I want to mention that, Kamala Harris and Walz are not addressing the media, yet the media is running cover. If I were a journalist, even in private, can't they be frustrated? Like, I am basically selling my soul for you,
right.
Not really telling people the truth. I'm towing the line. I'm using the same script as all the other media outlets. It's like the time we went and shopped for the Prius 10 years ago,
Right.
A salesman was trying to sell us a Chevy Volt and, hyping up this sales tax credit, blah, blah. And they don't know anything about tax credits, but they're taking advantage of the fact that most people don't really know about them. Well, guess what? You already bought the car by the time you realize that it didn't apply to you. And what happens is that the owner or the manager of the dealership gets all the good old boy club, the salespeople, and tell them what script to say.
Right.
And that's kind of the same feeling I get with the media. So you're not being creative like you want to be. You're not telling the story how you think it should be told. You're using the exact same language as all the other media outlets. You're selling your soul and ruining the whole reason why you went to journalism, because of your curiosity and wanting to get the story out there. And they won't even take the time to talk to you. That would be insulting to me.
Yeah, you can tell that. No, maybe not some of the prime time people, because they're happy in their contracts and getting paid
$20 million a year. A lot of people will sell their souls out.
But some of the daytime anchors, CNN had an anchor, and I'll be honest, I don't know the gentleman's name, but he had a campaign surrogate for the Harris-Walz campaign on. She was a campaign staffer, obviously in public relations. And he said, why isn't Kamala Harris doing an interview? And her response, it was a canned response, and it's because she's taking her message directly to the American public. And he said, well, but what did she have on her schedule today? Well, tomorrow she is going to somewhere, and she's going to take her message to the American public. And the anchors, what did she do today? What did she do?
Good for him.
What did she do today? Why didn't she sit down on an interview today? Well, but she's taking her message straight to the American people, and you could tell that he just kept asking the question again and again. But if she didn't have anything today, she had time today to talk to us, and you could tell that the campaign surrogate spokesperson was really starting to get upset, because she just literally was a repeating robot. With the reason that she's not talking to the media is she's talking directly to the American public.
What's on the vice president's schedule today?
Well, she's traveling and talking to voters and getting her message out there to the American people, something that she's been doing from the very start of this campaign, and something that she certainly did when she was President Biden's running mate as vice president. But look, you just mentioned the speech she's going to be giving in
that's right. I was asking about today, and I don't think she's got any campaign events on the schedule today, does she? I think we all do, and I'll ask you more about that in just a second. The reason I was asking about today is because it seems like she has time, if she wanted, to do an interview with a member of the media or do a news conference, correct? There does appear to be that time if she wanted.
But let's be clear. It is the exact same speech read off of a teleprompter.
Every single time. And, J.D. Vance and Trump, they're doing interviews and campaigning.
Exactly.
It both can be done. And if you go to their site, there are policies out there. If you want to get your message out to the American public, you're going to have your policies on your website, because that's going to be the first place people go to do their research.
And how much is on Kamala Walz's website?
0 policies.
0. It's donate here and how to volunteer. There is 0 policies of what they're going to do, and that should scare every single voter. First of all,
yes.
I think Kamala is an illegitimate presidential candidate, because for 2 presidential election cycles now, she has not secured a single primary vote as a candidate for the office that she is currently running in. The 2020 election, she had dropped out before the Iowa caucus, and so she wasn't a candidate when the primaries even happened. So 0 votes there, and then 0 votes here. Nobody has voted for her at all, and so I'm just sad about that.
Well, they don't need to do interviews because the media is running coverage for them.
Exactly.
But we Republicans need to take Nikki Haley's advice that she gave. We need to, say it once, be done. Don't whine about it. It is what it is. Focus on policy.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And so that goes into some of the subjects that Donald Trump and Elon Musk talked about, and it was wide ranging.
Yes.
They talked about his attempted assassination. They talk about immigration. They talk about education. They talk about Elon saying that a commission regarding government spending should be established, and he'd be happy to help with that. And so anyway, because of all the subjects that they talked about, and it was 2 hours long, we've kind of cherry picked some of them, and so we're going to play clips, but. And then we'll sit down and talk about them. But one of the funny things, I didn't put it in here because it was it went kind of rambly, but still, when they were talking about the assassination attempt, Elon asked Donald Trump, so what were you about to say about immigration before you were so rudely interrupted? and he said, obviously, the shooter didn't have any manners and had interrupted him. What did you have to say? And so Trump goes on to talk about his chart that he loves, and that he's definitely, he said he sleeps with it every night now after the assassination attempt. But I thought that was pretty humorous, but we cherry picked some other ones, and so we'll go ahead and listen to some of these, and then we'll stop and then talk about it. But these do go in chronological order.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I should probably say something about maybe my views on climate change and oil and gas, because I think I'm probably different from what most people would assume. Because my views are actually pretty, I think, moderate in this regard, which is that I don't think we should vilify the oil and gas industry and the people that have worked very hard in those industries to provide the necessary energy to support the economy. And if we were to stop using oil and gas right now, we would all be starving and the economy would collapse. So it's, I don't think it's right to sort of vilify the oil and gas industry. The world has a certain demand for oil and gas, and it's probably better if the United States provides that than some other countries. Sure.
He is absolutely correct, because we do things in a much cleaner, more efficient manner than in China. So if we don't do it here, well, guess what? We have to get it somewhere. I'd rather do it here and have jobs here. Yeah. So I like his balanced approach.
Yeah, I mean, so here's a man that the vast, I would say the vast majority of his wealth is in Tesla, and so when you look at, he's the wealthiest man in the world, the vast majority of that is in Tesla, and Tesla is an electric car company. For those of you who don't know, they also do solar panels on roofs and do energy storage, things like that. But still, it is using electricity to power those vehicles and to store and solar and renewable energy. So obviously he is betting with his vast fortune that is going to be successful, and it's wildly successful, obviously. But still, he is a realist. Mm-hmm. He is a realist, and that's kind of the way I am. You have those optimists and pessimists. So you have the optimist where the glass is half full. The pessimist is it's half empty. Well, I'm like Elon. I'm a realist. There's a glass and there's water in it. I mean, that's straight up what I believe. And for him to say, look, I'm an electric car company guy, but we have to have oil and gas. We have to have oil and gas.
Well, we need as much electricity as possible, no matter what the source is, I think, is what his approach is. And it's absolutely correct, especially with the advent of AI. It requires a lot of energy. We're going to need as much of it as possible. Yeah.
I mean, so, for this to be part of the conversation and to have, loud voices, in the left, and in the radicals as well that are screaming that we have to stop drilling now. We have to flip the switch now. And, he's right. People would starve to death.
Yes.
Farmers run on gasoline tractors in order to get food. Trucks run on fuel to ship it around the world. Container ships run on fuel in order to do maritime shipping. The world would starve.
Yes, and your iPhones have to come from somewhere. But he mentions, we would starve to death, the world would starve.
Right.
And then further throughout the conversation, he mentions human flourishing. Does that sound like the language of someone who is, quote unquote, a rich person not interested in the middle class, which is a criticism from the left? Like, no, it sounds like he's very much concerned about human flourishing and the middle class.
Right. I mean, he talked about how he stood in line 6 hours to vote for Obama. in his elections, and he's not a right wing person. I mean, there's the famous meme that he put up that he was center left, and the left keeps pushing the boundaries of what liberalism is.
Well, the progressives are going to progress.
Yeah, and so all of a sudden he's a centrist, and now all of a sudden he's leaning right. But his positions haven't changed. The political spectrum has changed around him, yep. And so that's what he said. So, but he's going to talk about rewriting history next, and what the Kamala Harris campaign is doing.
That meant, I said, wow, that means that they actually do want to have open borders. She wants to have open borders, and now she's going like she's tough on the border. It's such a lie.
Yeah, this is simply not true. This is simply not true.
And everybody knows
it's
not true. It's a disgrace that she can say it.
No, I mean, obviously what's happening sort of overnight is they're rewriting history and making Kamala sound like a moderate when in fact she is far left, like far left.
Worse than Bernie Sanders. She is considered more liberal by far than Bernie Sanders. She's a radical left lunatic. And if she's going to be our president, very quickly, you're not going to have a country anymore. And she'll go back to all of the things that she believes in. She believes in defunding the police. She believes in no fracking, zero. Now all of a sudden she's saying, no, I really want to see.
So I would reference, if you're trying to look up Kamala Harris, I would reference her 2020 campaign platform to see what she really believes. And it's perfectly in line with what has been going on in the Biden-Harris administration. So, she's just saying right now what people want to hear, what she thinks they want to hear. And, it's true. It sounds like she's trying to rewrite history. They're going through websites and scrubbing them and changing, the rank Walz said that he was. I mean, it's just very reminiscent of the Google Gemini launch.
So you have GovTrack, which is the nonpartisan tracker for politicians, and they rated her the most liberal senator in the United States government, and that has been sanitized. GovTrack has taken that down and sanitized it. So they're supposed to be nonpartisan. Well, why didn't they just leave that up? Obviously, they're in on the gig, and they don't want her to be known as that. But there are clips. In fact, our last week we showed clips where CBS was saying that she was the most liberal senator, and she said, "Oh, no, well, people say that. I think it was Mike Pence said that during the debate," and she said, "No, actually, GovTrack rates you."
And people, when you're doing research, God invented screenshots for a reason.
Right. Yeah, I would challenge everybody to make sure that you are going back and looking at archives of websites before they're changed. They do have archives, and Tim Walz's congressional archived website says that he is a retired command sergeant major. That is not true. The Kamala Harris website said he was a command sergeant major. Still not true. You need to take a look at our previous segment, but they've changed it now, and they, instead of saying retired command sergeant major, they say he achieved the rank of sergeant major, which is true. However, he was demoted to a master sergeant in his retirement, and so it's just the internet is being sanitized, and it's not in your favor for that to happen because Kamala Harris is not doing interviews like we talked about.
Hiding the truth.
She's hiding the truth, and she has those canned teleprompter speeches. But they're really this is really a big problem. But let's keep going to the next segment.
And by the way, if people didn't think that, the lunatics that really believe in that, they won't vote for her. Like the Palestinians and Israel. She is so anti-Israel, and she's bad for both. Biden actually did something that was impossible. Both sides hate him, both sides. That was a hard thing to do, unification.
Yeah, no. I mean, Netanyahu came to give a talk to a joint Senate and House sitting, and I was there, and Kamala stood him up. What does that say?
I think it's highly
that's,
disrespectful. And I say, if you're a Jewish person or if you believe in Israel, if you're a person that, is a very pro-Israel, if you vote for her, it's worse than Biden. And Biden was bad. But if you vote for her, you ought to have your head examined.
Well, yeah, I mean, goodness. If someone comes to the floor and John Fetterman dresses in a suit and you don't show up,
as the president of the Senate, being the vice president, you have a chair.
Yes, exactly. I'm sorry, but she's trying to get the job of the presidency, and we are doing the interview, and we know she didn't show up to a major event in her last job. That doesn't speak well to me.
Yeah, that's obviously a problem. I mean, we already in our last segment touched on when she was a senator, she missed almost a third of her votes.
More than 30%.
Yeah, so
she didn't do her job 30% of the time.
And taxpayers are paying her. Yes,
exactly. Now, one thing I do want to comment on Trump, we're the base, right? Like, right. Okay, we're in the Coliseum. He's throwing the base meat. We love it. Okay, yes, we do. Okay, but the base is going to vote for him no matter what. But, and Elon said at the beginning, this is for the independent voters who have right. not yet made up their mind. So I think Trump really should have kept that in mind. It can be argued you need to get your head examined. Yes, if you're pro-Israel and yet you're thinking of voting for her, but he needs to not say it. Okay? Yes, I can understand why he would say it, but he needs to not say it because you need to appeal to some of those independent voters and to avoid saying things like that. It's not compromising on your policy by any means. It's just like, look, we need to win. Okay? You need to win, and people can be emotional, and if people have been voting a certain way for decades of their life or have been thinking a certain way for so long, they're almost married to it.
Right.
Because I just can't tell you how many people I'll listen to talk on podcasts, and they sound so rational, but then they're going to vote in a certain way that acts so counterintuitive to everything that their rationale has said. Like, Alan Dershowitz is very pro-Israel and says so many things like, yeah, that sounds so in line with how Republicans are thinking, but then it just stops right there. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
You got to go across the finish line.
Yes, but I think things like this are turning people like him off.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously, I think...
Focus on the policies, as Nikki Haley says. Focus on the policy.
If Trump, Vance campaign, focused on just Kamala Harris and Biden's policies and the poor execution of their administration and kept it at that, he has to win because it has been an absolute disaster. Kamala Harris has made her bed, and now she has to sleep in it and lie in it. And
it's like she's trying to make her bed while she's lying in it.
Yeah, but it's too late. The record is already there, and so that's what he needs to do. And if anybody the Trump campaign is watching this, which I hope you are, because we put out great nuggets of regular mom and dad, what we're thinking. Focus on the policy. She has been a disaster, and use her own lack of accomplishments against her.
Yeah, just the facts. Leave she's a disaster, get your head examined. Leave that to the podcasters. You have enough podcasters in your camp that can throw that, but you need to just
now let's talk about her VP pick, or they talk about some of the things that Governor Walz did, as the governor.
We have no leadership. There's no respect for the United States of America with these people, and I'm telling you, she'll be worse than him. Because she's a believer in being radical left, and he wasn't.
I think you're right. I mean, it's important for the public that may be listening to this to look at Kamala's track record, before the last month, and say, is that a track record you agree with? And I think if you're an independent moderate, you definitely would not agree with it, because it is her behavior has been far left, and we're seeing just an overnight propaganda when she in fact is not moderate.
Well, her
I think
running mate approved, signed into legislation, tampons in boys' bathrooms. Okay, now that's all I have to hear. Tampons in boys' bathrooms, and that means she believes in that too. I mean, she picked this guy because he was the closest to her. A lot of people thought she'd pick sort of the opposite, but she picked an anti-Israel radical left person. But she is far worse, they say, than Bernie Sanders. If we have her as a president, if we have a Democrat at this moment as a president, I don't think our country can survive.
Yeah, I do think he's right on that. But, he's obviously, he is doing a good job here of talking about, a policy of putting tampons in the
and he said he could have ended it there because, again, people's attention spans are very short. But he ordered tampons in boys' bathroom. That's all I need to hear. Right. And I think that would perfectly encapsulate the sentiment for everyone. And I think maybe that may have been aimed towards Elon personally, like to get him excited, because Elon Musk has a son whose mind was eaten by the woke mind virus, in right. his words. So he personally feels, he feels that personally, like the ridiculousness and the pain that comes with that.
Yeah, and obviously that's traumatic for any father to experience, because the way he understands it was during COVID. He didn't realize what he was signing, that this was going to completely change the gender of his child, and he says, now I don't have a son anymore, because first of all the individual has changed their gender, but also disowned their own.
And
I
think that for some people that might be an even bigger issue, right. because there's this intersectionality when you buy into, okay, I'm no longer a boy, I'm a girl. You believe all these other things right. that go counterintuitive to the values that a normal person would raise their kids with.
Right.
So it's just very divisive.
Well, I mean, and let's talk about freedom of speech as well. They're about to talk about freedom of speech and how it seems like it's inappropriately applied.
Yeah, well, I think it's obvious that you're a believer and an advocate of free speech, because during your first term as president, you were attacked relentlessly every day, often very unfairly with false attacks, and you didn't try to shut down the media. You didn't try to inhibit their freedom of speech, and I think that says a lot.
Well, the good thing is that you and I have, and some people, very few, we can get the word out. Although sometimes it's hard because they don't want to print it, like we're having a great conversation right now. Kamala wouldn't have this conversation. She can't, because she's not smart. She's not a smart person, by the way.
He couldn't help it.
She can't have this conversation. And Biden, we don't even have to talk about it. I mean, he couldn't have this conversation. He would have given up on the first half of a question. He would have walked out. He would have said, where am I? Where am I going? So anyway, but no, he wouldn't have this.
That's true.
Not a lot of people would have this conversation, but we cover a lot of territory. But the beauty is that we can have a conversation, and I'm able to get it out without, because I get treated unfairly.
This is a really big point. You can actually have a conversation with you.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
And you can't have a conversation with Biden or Kamala. It's like it's not possible. So this is like talking to an NPC. No. So it's just impossible.
Well, but think of it. We need a man or person who's unbelievably sharp in order to stop all the nuclear danger and all the dangers that I'm talking about.
So, Elon Musk made a very good point, about being able to talk with him, whereas, you can't talk to Biden or Harris or Walz. And again, if someone's applying for a job and you're the potential employer, but the candidate doesn't really seem to want to talk to you, are you likely to hire them? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Now, he could have left out, again, we're the base. We like the meat. He's throwing the meat out like Biden's going, well, where I'm going. You know, he can't do this interview. Kamala Harris is dumb. Okay, yes, all those things are true, but you're trying to appeal to the independent voter.
And the moderates.
So he could have left that part out. But when, you know, people like to feel like they have some accessibility to their president, like they know what they're thinking. You know, you don't want to feel like your leader is off in the shadows making some dirty deal or anything. Like Thomas Jefferson was really beloved. One of the reasons back in the day is because you could go up to the White House and knock on the door. That used to be true for a lot of presidents, but he was very casual. Like he showed up, he might answer the door in his bedroom slippers or something. And so people like that.
Right. Well, and that's, you know, that's one of the things I think why some people that were lifelong Democrats have jumped over to Donald Trump, because they do see him as more approachable and things like that. I mean, he is, you know, the media brands him as anti-middle class, and that's just not true. I mean, it's just not true. He's created jobs all across the spectrum. Biden is just getting back to what, you know, the jobs that were lost during COVID, and he's not creating new jobs. But still, you know, they go on into the conversation, and they want to talk about excitement and energized for the future of America. So let's take a listen.
Yeah, well, you know, maybe like I think part of what, you know, people in America want to feel excited and inspired about the future. They want to feel like the future is going to be better than the past, and that America is going to do things that are greater than we've done in the past, reach new heights that make you proud to be an American, and excited about the future.
They want the American dream back. They want the American dream back. More important than anything else, it's like you don't have that today because the people, they've been just sucked. They see incompetent people running our. You know, the Biden thing is very interesting. People just found him to be incompetent, and when I debated him, I was like, "Is this for real?" It was.
Yeah, it was just absurd. But you know, I think there are, like, you know, some you know, grand projects that we could do. I mean, I think, like, you know, we could build a base on the moon. We could send American astronauts to Mars. We could build high-speed connections that are, you know, more advanced than anything else in the world between our cities, so people have fast transport. You know, it's possible to solve traffic with tunnels. We already made great progress in Vegas doing that, and you know, and just do things that are exciting and inspiring and make the future feel like it's better than the past.
I hope Trump really takes Elon's advice to heart, because they were talking about the Harris campaign and like hinting at why it's increasing her poll numbers. I mean, because talking about how much something sucks is not entirely motivating.
Right. Whereas
you have Beyonce playing and people are dancing and, you know, the whole media is going, joy, blah, 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 blah. I mean, again, toeing the line.
Fawning over her.
Yes. And talking, she's a beautiful woman and it gets a little old, but it is a little more energizing. And so Elon's like, hey, hope is energizing. And so maybe what Trump needs to do is, okay, we achieved greatness in 2019. We're all better off, right? Well, we can go even further. We can do, you know, the inspirational projects that Elon Musk laid out there. And this is how I can get us there.
Right.
I think that's kind of what Elon Musk is, like the game plan for Trump that Elon Musk is laying out.
Yeah, that's one of the things. You know, Trump doesn't really get a lot of credit for this, but Trump had a meeting of multiple influential CEOs hosted at the White House. You know, Meta was there, IBM was there, I believe Tesla was there. But really had all of these high-powered CEOs that were there in order to talk about how we could build giant things again, and how we could have these moonshots of medicine and innovation and technology and progress of moving into outer space and becoming a multi-planetary species. And so, Trump didn't get a lot of credit for that, and he wants to build things, and Elon clearly he does build things, and he's volunteered to his time, which is extremely valuable, to do some of that stuff. So, they go in to talk about the active process of reducing rules and regulations. I think Donald Trump said that for every regulation that comes under his administration, they have to get rid of 10.
Which is smart because, again, you're limiting and narrowing things down. And then things like Elon Musk said, that things just ossify and you can't get anything done.
Yeah, so let's hear about their talk about reducing regulations.
The FDA takes too long. It's 12 years to get a product approved. I got it down to 4, and I got some things done very quickly. But it's really something that is going to have to be worked on because it takes too long. Just takes too long.
Yeah, it just takes too long, and it's you end up in the same with the approval, but it just it takes years instead of something that I think could potentially take months, and that improves people's lives.
Yeah.
I think I just wanted to hop on this point that there has to be an active process for reducing rules and regulations, because otherwise they just keep building up every year, and you get hardening of the arteries, and eventually everything's illegal or takes forever, and then we just ossify as a society. We can't make any progress, and it's a really big deal.
One of the things that they continue on to say, again, because this is so. This conversation is so long, we wanted to make sure that we were able to truncate some of it down. But one of the things he talked about was his right to try, and that was for experimental medications for people who had terminal illnesses. And look, let me be the guinea. I'm dying anyway. Let me be the guinea pig for this particular drug. And he's had thousands of success stories with some of these experimental drugs, and they've actually saved people's lives. And so that was one of the things that he was talking about, rules and regulations with the FDA specifically. But Elon's absolutely right. Now, they move on to talk about crime. And, the interesting thing is, depending upon who you talk to, crime is either up or down. I would say, it's the old Mark Twain quote, there's lies, damn lies, and statistics, because you can use statistics anywhere you want. But for the left, for people to say crime is going down, I would say that crime is no longer being reported.
Yes, and Elon Musk touches on that too.
Yep.
You're better off when I was president. Nobody's better off now. People, we put out polls on that, and nobody's better off now. Inflation has killed it. And, they also feel very unsafe. You look at what's going on with a lot of different things. You look at the riots we had at the colleges over, it's ridiculous, but all of the riots, they just feel unsafe. And now they really feel unsafe because you have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. Maybe I'll call it Kamala migrant crime. But
with all these things, I always try to get to the ground truth by just asking people. And my mom lives in New York, and I was like, Mom, have any of your friends, been attacked or assaulted? And she said, yeah, 3 of her friends in 3 separate incidents were assaulted just in recent months, just walking around the streets of New York. And I said, well, what happened to the people that assaulted them? Oh, nothing. They got away. They just know
they always get away.
Nothing's going. And they don't even bother reporting it because they know that they're not going to, people are not going to get prosecuted. They just let, violent criminals out in New York.
The only one that gets prosecuted is Donald Trump. They prosecute Trump.
Yeah, it's just obviously messed up.
Yeah, so I mean, here we go. I mean, again, if you don't report the crime and you don't include it in a statistic, then you can't say that the crime is going down. You're just not talking about the crime that actually happened.
Well, it's like being on a diet and not, you're supposed to write down your calories, like everything you ate, and you're like, okay, well, you forget to write down a cupcake or something, so you wonder why you're gaining weight. Like your eyes see the crime going up around you, your eyes see the weight going up around you. But, this statistic says that should not be the case.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this was just such an interesting conversation. And really what was especially telling was Elon Musk got an official letter from the European Union talking about how if this talk or conversation was insightful in any way, it could result in charges being in the EU. And so, if whatever he or Donald Trump say is misinformation or insightful, whatever, that they'd be in violation of communication laws in the EU. And I'll be honest, Elon Musk's response was classic. He used a meme from the movie Tropic Thunder. The character played by Tom Cruise is this media mogul, and the meme says, "How about you take a step back and fuck your own face?" was his response to the European Union, and that's one of the reasons why he was so deliberate and using precise words precisely at the beginning, that this is not an interview. This is not a debate. This was not a campaign stump speech. This was a conversation between two individuals. It just happened to be on X Spaces, and so it was important to see. I mean, you could see that it wasn't just Elon Musk asking question after question. It was Elon Musk also giving his opinion of what
good opinions,
good opinions, and Donald Trump would have to react to his opinion, and the same thing. I mean, there were some surprising things, for Elon to talk about how he is pro oil and gas and coal and for energy right now. He says, look, you can't just turn it off. That'd just be stupid. We'd all die. We'd all starve to death. And talking about misinformation. And I think that was one of the most critical things that he has absolutely done, was to privatize and purchase Twitter, now known as X, to have that town square and to be in the middle for everybody to post things.
Well, we had a good time with that,
yep.
And thank you for joining us. And
and we're gonna we'll put a link to the full, so you don't have to hear us talk. You can have the full link. We'll put it in the description as well.
All right. Well, hit like and subscribe, and have a good day. Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy our show with all the stories we share, we would love your support.
And it's as easy as clicking that subscribe or follow button. This will ensure you never miss an episode and keeps us bringing you these important stories. Your support makes a huge difference. Thank you so much for being part of our podcast family.
Thanks, and keep tuning in.